What's up guys, Marco here, back with another video in the Google Ads and E-Com Q&A series, the format where you can ask me any questions about Google Ads, e-commerce, dropshipping, whatever it is, and I answer some of these questions in a quick video like this. If you want me to answer your question, make sure to put it in the comments right below. And with this being said, let's get started with the first one. So the first question comes from Adam, and he asks, can a general store work better than a niche store? Adam, yes, it can. Of course, it can theoretically work better than a niche store. My experience from myself, my clients, and my students is that if you run a dedicated niche store, especially when it's higher ticket, has way more potential than a general store. Like with a general store, you have to think about it like that. You are always looking, or you're always chasing winning products. And you are always spending money and spending more money and more money on ads just to find that winner, right? There is nothing that you really build up. There is not an asset that you are investing into, because it's always chasing a winner. While in a niche store, you can actually build something. Like, for example, if you run a niche store for a specific type of, let's say, furniture, which is an example that I really like to use, right? Let's say you want to sell chairs only. You can come up with a really cool selection of chairs. You can design the store properly. You can technically also build an email list. You can do a bunch of things, and you're actually investing into this asset, so to speak. With a general store, at least based on my experience, you don't really build that asset. Also, what I noticed is when people that I worked with run general stores, whether it's clients or students, normally they weren't really for the long term. Many general stores simply stop performing at some point because, just as I said, it's always about the products that you currently have in your store and the winner that you have right now. And as soon as this dies out, you have to look for a new one again. And many general stores that I know, or few general stores that I know, are actually running successfully for 1, 2, or 3 years. My clear recommendation, if you're starting with e-com or dropshipping, start with a niche store. Yes, I see general store has the benefit of being able to test a lot, but in my opinion, this doesn't outweigh the benefits of niche stores. Then the second question from Mateusz or something like that, I hope I pronounced that right. Any ideas to limit generic keywords? And yes, you can limit generic keywords if you run a shopping campaign by using a lot of negative keywords. So take a look at what people search for, add those keywords that you don't want to a negative keyword list. And if you run a search campaign, you can do the opposite. You can define the positive keywords that you want to rank for, right? If you want to rank for, let's say, launch chair, sorry, if you want to rank for a launch chair, then of course you will, use a positive keyword called launch chair that people have to look for. If you run a shopping ad, you cannot define positive keywords, only negative ones. So here you do the opposite. You exclude everything you don't want so that only positive keywords are left, basically. If you want to learn more about this whole topic of researching keywords, both positive, negative, how to make sure that you find the right keywords and queries that actually turn into sales, then you might want to have a look at the description to my eCom PPC Academy training, where we have over 2 hours purely dedicated on keyword research, how to find the right ones, how to make sure that people look for stuff that you're selling, and so on and so forth. But I hope this helped you already when it comes to generic keywords. Then we have King KY, and he asks, what do I do if I'm getting just a little impressions and no clicks on Google Ads? Well, I have a more in-depth video on the topic that you will see here in this very moment at the top right. Basically, there are not that many things that you can do. First of all, the thing that you should always try first is increasing your bid. Most of the time when you're not getting clicks and little impressions, means that your bid is too low, because I assume that, let's say you talk about Google Shopping ads, I assume most of the time the product actually has enough search volume. I rarely come across products where I say the search volume is super, super low, okay? So if you have a 50-cent bid right now, try increasing it to $1 or $1.50, see if that's the issue. If you start getting clicks and impressions, then at least you know that that was the problem, and you can always adjust it back later on. But it's a good quick test to find out if if that's the issue or something else. So besides that, you can also, of course, extend your reach. Maybe you have too many negative keywords. Maybe you have a certain geographic region selected. Maybe you have a certain demographic selected. Maybe you have limited yourself in just some other way. Also make sure, if it's a shopping ad, that you add relevant keywords to the title and description. And if you have a search ad, that you are not too restrictive with your positive keywords, okay? So don't have too many exact match keywords if you don't know how big the search volume really is. That's what you can do to get more impressions and clicks. Ultimately, once you start getting impressions and you have a good click-through rate, Google will give you more impressions again, because they're obviously favoring advertisers that have good ads that get a lot of clicks so that they make more money. And as soon as this all starts happening, it's like a positive cycle, positive feedback loop, and you can get better in this space. And then we have Sartak, and he asks, hey Marco, recently I started smart shopping using Shopify marketing dashboard. All my products are approved, but smart shopping is not getting any impressions or clicks. Yes, so that's the typical issue that so many people have with both normal Google Shopping, but also smart shopping these days. First of all, give it some time. Like it's not unusual that you have to wait at least a few days for shopping ads and smart shopping to pick up. So that's totally common these days, unfortunately. Make sure that you're running on maximized conversion value and not target ROAS, because that means that you get that technically there is no no bid cap really to get those clicks. So that way you make sure that impressions. So that way you make sure that you're not limited in that way. Other than that, what you can try if it really continues to happen is create multiple smart shopping campaigns with different products. Like let's say smart shopping campaign 1 with 20 products, smart shopping campaign 2 with another 20 products, just to find out if that's maybe the issue, okay? It's pretty unlikely, but just so that you can do something. Other than that, there is not too much, unfortunately. Like if you just don't get spent in the first place, and I mean with smart shopping, literally everything is automated, there isn't much that you can do other than wait. So as I said, give it a few days. If necessary, ask Google support. Very occasionally, they can actually help you with something and tell you, hey, here, you have missed something, here is an issue. Most of the time, they cannot really help with that, but at least, that's something that you can do if this continues to happen. And then we have the last question from Product Reviews. Hey Marco, I just have $200 budget, and I also know that I get $100 Google Ad credit with Shopify, so I have $300 in budget for Google Ads dropshipping. Will it work? What are the things I need to take care of? It can work, but it's very low. Like it's at the very, very low end of what I recommend. Normally, I recommend to have a very bare minimum of $500. Ideally, you have $1,000 or more. Simply because let's say you start a $15 or $20 per day ad. With your budget, you can only run it for 15 days. And if there is something, unforeseen, like suddenly you have a bigger expense, or suddenly you have to fulfill some orders, but you don't get your money right away from PayPal or something, this can already cause problems for you. So $300, I mean, you have to pay Shopify for that. You said you have $300 budget for Google Ads dropshipping. Not sure if this also only includes the ad part or everything, but else you also need Shopify. Maybe you need 1 or 2 apps eventually, not really necessary in my opinion in the beginning. But with 300, it's very tough, I would say. What you should take care of is that in the beginning, when you are on that low of a budget, you really focus your spend and your relevance. So if you have limited money, this means you should invest more time. And this means that you should build a better store. So spend more time on your store, make sure that the design is great, that the layout is good, that it's easy to navigate, that it loads very quickly. Make sure that you have great images, descriptions, titles, etc., reviews, and all that stuff in place. What I see a lot is that people build a store in like 1 hour, and then they want to build or they want to spend all their time in Google Ads. That's definitely not the right thing. Like Google Ads is extremely important. It gives you the right customers, it gives you the right traffic. And of course, at some point you spend a lot of time in there, but in the very beginning, make sure that you have a great store. Make sure that you use Hotjar to analyze your visitors. Make sure that you use Google Analytics. Make sure that everything about your store is as optimized as you possibly can without actually getting data, right? That's the second step. But if you have a very low budget, spend the time in your store, which is essentially free, just requires work. When it comes to ads, make sure that you run on a small $15 or $20 per day budget so that you can add negative keywords every day, that you can really focus your ad spend. Try to aim for the cheaper clicks, so rather have a low bid and try to get those cheap clicks instead of bidding too high and spending a little more than necessary. These are all things that you should do. Focus on shopping ads too, as they are normally easier than search and display and YouTube when it comes to e-commerce and selling. And that's pretty much, or these are pretty much the tips that I can give you. Ideally, you accumulate a little bigger of a budget, but if you really live by these tips that I just gave you, at least it should be possible. So I hope that this was helpful for you, and also if some of you guys have the same issue or the same question as well. So with this being said, thanks a lot for watching. I hope that you got some value out of my answers to these questions. If you have a question, as I said in the beginning, about Google Ads, about e-commerce, or anything like that, let me know in the comments. Also, please hit like on this video if you enjoyed it, if it helped you, and subscribe to not miss on any future Q&As or other videos. I'm releasing new stuff for Google Ads e-commerce dropshipping here on a regular basis, usually twice or 3 times a week. So make sure you do that. I will really look forward to see you in the next video, and bye-bye.